If your unit committee was to disappear tomorrow, would your unit immediately fail, or would it kind of struggle on like it has been? The answer to that really determines whether your committee is there to support your program or to interfere with it. Hey, ScouterStan, let's talk a little bit about this committee issue if they were to disappear. Obviously, unit committees are a critical part of a unit. Ones that don't work right, who have issues, are going to cause issues within the unit. And it's important that we talk about how a committee should function, how that works with the scout facing, all of the den leaders and in a pack, or even assistant scoutmasters and scoutmasters in a troop. Now, I often think of the committee as a engine room. You have an engine that makes everything go, all of the functions, all of the teams that really work behind the scenes. They're not in the pilot house actually steering the ship, okay? That's for other people to do depending on the unit. The committee is literally the engine. It's what makes everything go. It helps that whole thing move forward. Their job is to literally support the program, making sure that all of the inner workings of the teams are going. They're not there to run the meeting or take over or be directly scout facing. That's for others to actually do. The unit committee can look for guidance and help through their unit commissioner. That's someone that's in between the unit and council, and that is the commissioner job, to kind of find problems and try to help the unit solve those problems. That's really the goal, is to help units succeed. Now, what does support without interference really mean? It's important that the committee is there to work with the teams. That could be the treasurer, that could be advancement, that could be the quartermaster team. There's a lot of different teams that are part of that. And they're not there to direct decisions and make things difficult for scout-facing scouters. And what that means is the assistant Scoutmaster, the assistant Cubmaster, or the den leader, or the assistant den leader, not to be directly involved in that per se, making those decisions. It's all part of the methods of scouting, where scout-facing adult leaders are actually working with youth. That is a very important part of the methods of scouting. That interaction should not be interrupted through a committee. It's really important that you have backstage and you have scout facing. So those are the two, and they need to work together. Now, there is such a thing as respecting the chain of communications. The committee might have an issue, and they will convey that to the scout facing adult leaders. They, in turn, will address the issue with the youth. That's really the communication chain. And that's kind of the other way, too. If the youth are having an issue, they will convey that to the scout-facing leaders, and then that goes on up to, of course, the committee. Now, in that, we also have a really good video on unit committees. Definitely check out that link. It'll give you more information about what a unit committee does and what their responsibilities are in helping the unit succeed. The unit committee's core responsibilities are to manage their teams. It's important that they meet on a regular basis. It's very important, not as needed. It should be as often as possible. In fact, for members only, we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual timing of that. So if you're a member, stay there. We do a lot of great things in members only. So if you can, hit the join button if you're not directly involved. But as far as the core things that they do, can have a lot to do with the overall running of the unit. One of the big things, of course, is financing and budgeting. The actual schedule of events that are taking place in the pack, or the schedule of activities that the youth have come up with. All of this is managed as far as the finances and stuff through teams of different groups that are actually working together to help things run smoothly. Record keeping. This is something they do a lot of for advancement, to make sure that the nights camping are taken care of for other things, and to make sure that all the merit badge information is coming back from summer camp if you're in a troop, to make sure that everything's been signed off in the den level is in the books. This is something that the unit committee needs to keep a handle on through the advancement team. Equipment, transportation, all those things that have to do with quartermaster. There's obviously a need for an adult to be involved in the committee to actually coordinate with the youth quartermasters so that they have all of the tents accounted for, all of the cooking equipment they need for a camporee or a camp out. That's something that's more of a troop or crew base. The quartermaster position can also be in a pack, and it has a lot to do with materials for either the pack meeting or den meetings. So that might be something that a lot of packs may think about putting together. They would also be in charge of the uniform closet. A lot of units will have a uniform donation system for scouts that outgrew their uniform. They could donate it to the unit, and then they would maintain that so that new scouts coming in could access that, and it wouldn't be such a financial burden on the family. So there's a lot of logistics there that the committee does, not the scout facing. They're too busy, okay? They've got their hands full. So the committee is where that is. Another big responsibility for your unit committee is actively recruiting adults to become leaders, whether it's within the committee itself as a team or scout facing. So that really depends on the needs. It is very important to understand that your committee is set up behind the scenes. The youth don't really know it's there. They don't need to know. It's important, but if the committee is doing things right, the youth won't even know that all of these things are happening in the background. And the committee is actively getting new parents to come in, actively assigning them either behind the stage or scout facing. So these are things that the committee can work on. Hey, before we go any further, I want to personally invite you to come to the Campfire Chat. This is a live meeting. It happens on the first Sunday of each month, and it starts at 9 p.m. That's Eastern Time. And of course, I want to personally thank all of the members of the Patreon. They help support what we do here. In addition to that, we also have memberships available right here on this channel. Hit the join button and find out more information. There's a lot of nice little perks that you get for being a member and helping support what we do here. And one of those things is being recognized on our channel. So here's the list of all of the supporters of the channel. Now there are some common ways that a committee can actually interfere in a unit's operation. The committee should not be sitting on a patrol leaders council. That is a youth meeting. Okay, that's for the youth to run. Patrol leaders council. They should not be. The committee should not be part of a den meeting. Okay, because that's between the den leaders and the Cub Scouts. Okay, that's not good. If you're in a crew, venture crew, you don't want the committee in the youth meeting. They would not really like that, especially if they're just to observe. And if you have them say, "Oh, we're just observing," you tell them, this is for the scout facing side. The scout facing side needs to tell the committee members, this is, you're more than welcome to sit in on the meeting. But if you have questions, you have to write them down and give them to an adult leader. That's how that works. The committee should not be interfering with the youth. No, that's a bad thing. Just no, don't do that. Okay, tell them to write it down. Okay, instead of blurting out questions for the youth. Overruling a committee, overruling a youth or a Cubmaster or assistant Cubmaster or a Scoutmaster or assistant Scoutmasters. Having them overrule, that's not the process. The process is you have to respect that chain of communications. So it goes from committee to the adult scout-facing leaders, and then to the youth, and then the scout-facing adult leaders, up to the committee. So you have to keep them separated. They should never countermine. The only exception would be safety. That's the only exception to that rule. Talking directly with the scout about discipline. When there's a discipline issue, it should be brought to the scout-facing. The scout-facing adult leaders then go to the committee. At that point, there may be a special conference that the committee may be part of, and always include the parents, especially if it's a code of conduct or a discipline type of issue. There is exceptions when you're dealing with the actual committee being involved in rank advancement for youth. They will have a meeting, this is part of that rank advancement, with the committee members and regular members, but none of the scout facing are there. So that's the separated meeting. That's really for the youth to take the opportunity to talk about their advancement and how that has meaning and what they have issues or questions for the committee. Now the youth may be involved if they're doing their rank advancement. There would be a board of review. Now that's not a committee meeting, okay? Even though committee people might be on that. The board of review does not have any of the scout-facing leadership. It's done separate, and it's for rank advancement. That's the only thing they really talk about in that conference. That's an important part of all of that function of leadership going up in rank. That's a big part. It also gives the youth a chance to actually communicate with the committee. That's fine. That communication should be done. The committee members that are on the board of review, they're not part of this is not an extension of the committee. Okay, committee meeting. That's a big thing. You don't want to, you got to keep these separate, and boards of review can be complex. The committee has to have the right relationship with the Cubmaster or the Scoutmaster. That needs to be a good relationship, a good communication between the groups of participants within the committee and the scout facing. It's important that there is a one voice, not conflicting orders going on, okay? It should be done as one voice, so that your scout facing leadership wants to work with your committee, and the committee should want to work with the scout facing. So it's not one's better than the other, it's that they need to be on the same agenda, the same issue answers. That's a big thing. Now the committee chair is a individual that should be sort of a go-between, trying to get all the information and trying to help the teams succeed, all of the different teams that are part of the committee. That's really what the committee chair is. It's not the boss of the troop. It's not the boss of the pack or crew. They're there to make sure that all of the stuff that happens in the background is happening, okay? And to make sure that none of that gets left behind, so that it's all addressed and all taken care of. That's a big responsibility. You can't have the committee chair also be one of the scout facing. They have to keep these things separate. Otherwise, you're going to have major burnout and issues with all of that work. It's a lot. So it's best to keep them separated. Temporarily it could happen, but no more than a week, okay? Temporarily. Then you're the second person in that team needs to take over that position. So important that you have teams, okay? Teams are the key to keeping the unit going and keeping everything running. Now at this point you're probably thinking, what are the practical signs that a committee is doing it right? These are ways of seeing that they are performing the tasks that are not interfering with the overall operation of your scout unit. Your committee meetings should be short, powerful, lots of information, and boring. Okay, that's not a youth meeting. This is an adult meeting. So that's a good sign. If you see that from a scout facing point of view, it's not that they don't care. They have information they're going to convey. It's all written down. There's reports given. And, okay, that's a good committee meeting, okay? You're getting a lot done. If it becomes a big joke fest and a lot of ha-ha, fellowship's not bad, but it should be kept in check. Keep that out of the committee meeting. Another big sign would be your youth are more confident when they are taking up a leadership role, because adults aren't hovering over them, helicoptering every decision and everything they do. They get a little more comfortable in their leadership position. That's a great sign. Your committee and even your adult, what they call scout facing, are doing it right. You know the committee's doing it right when the adult or scout facing leaders are feeling like they have an ally, someone that's helping them behind the scenes. That's great. And that really shows through when that scout facing leader is there mentoring the youth. That is a wonderful thing. You know your committee's doing it right when the parents start seeing that there's a consistency within the unit. That is so important. That chaos is brought down from a minimum. Youth meetings are highly organized chaos, okay? But the adult meetings should be straightforward and moving forward in a very calm and consistent manner. That is very important to parents. That's what they want. They want to make sure that the behind the scenes is not wobbling and having problems. They want to make sure that they see that too. And while we're on the subject of parents, having parents step up for the multitude of different tasks that are out there for packs, troops, crews, what have you. The getting them involved. There's a video on getting them to step up. It can make adults in the unit crazy when the youth are just being dropped off and parents go off. That's not how it should be. The parents should be involved in their youth's behind the scenes, okay? They need to be there. They need to watch the meetings, or they need to be in the committee meeting if it's a PLC night or whatever. It can vary, okay? So definitely get those parents involved. Watch the video. It talks about how to get them involved. There are a lot of challenges when it comes to a committee. But one of the big questions you need to ask yourself, if the units committee was to just not do anything for an entire month, how would that affect the youth meetings? In a PAC, a DEN meeting, how would that affect it? How would them not being around for an entire month for a troop in their patrol meeting or their troop meeting, the youth meetings, how would that affect it? If it affects it adversely, then you have an issue. So there's thoughts there, and it's important that a committee work with the scout-facing part of scouting, so that all of the factors, all of the different groups that are in a unit, and is sizable, are working with the same goal in mind. That's the beautiful thing. When that is working together, you've got less problems. It is so important that your committee is doing their job. Just like it's important for the scout-facing to do their job, they need to be doing all of the reports and the meetings and all of those things so that the scouting unit doesn't have a problem and not being able to fulfill its promise to the youth to have adventures, to do incredible things. That's the thing we promise to the scouts. And as adult leaders, we need to work together. The committee, behind the scenes, and of course scout facing. All of that's got to come together. And I know you can do it. So keep it up. If you have comments or questions, please put them on this video. I do read them. I may not get to them right away, but I want your input. Committee is important. We never want them to go away. That's hypothetical, okay? Not advocating that at all. So that's something that I want to make clear. We do so much. Committees do a lot of work behind the scenes, and of course, scout facing. They do a lot of work, and we do it for our scouts. We're building a better America, one scout at a time. That's the beautiful thing. And as long as we can work together and bring it together, then we'll have a great unit, and it will succeed in fulfilling that promise of scouting, keeping that scout oath and scout laws the core values of what we do. Keep up that good hard work. And if you have a moment, I do have a video about resources for scout leaders, whether it be behind the scenes or in front. So check out the video, and I will see you on the trail.